Welcome back. Bruce Mathieson first got into the pub business way back in 1974, and today's company, Australian Leisure and Hospitality Group, is our biggest hotel and gambling company with hundreds of venues across the country. Since stepping down from the helm 2 years ago, he's invested in everything from mining companies to biotech. He's the biggest shareholder in Main Pharma. And his passion for medical IT is why he has just become a cornerstone investor in iSonea, which is developing smartphone-based asthma monitoring systems. He's here to tell us about his eclectic interests. Mr. Mathieson joins me from our Brisbane studio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, look, before we get into the iSonea, I have to ask you, are you happy about the change of government? Is it good for business for you?
Well, I certainly think so. I think it was time that there was a change, and I think it was a time the country had a lot more stability, and I think only good can come out of it. Yes, I do.
Yeah, I'm just asking because yesterday Solomon Lew was hopeful that consumers would spend. Joe Hockey's asked people to spend. You're at the cutting edge of spending and confidence. If people are happy, are you noticing yet any change? Are they out there in your venues?
Oh, well, it's a bit early, I would say, but I hope they do start spending, and that's good for the whole of Australia, isn't it? So we need people to spend, and I'm sure that it won't take too long before that occurs.
As a business figure who has interests in sport, in these areas I've said, and you have a lot of interest in Queensland, I wonder what you make of Clive Palmer. Do you look at him and think, now that's why I wouldn't get into politics?
Well, he's a lot gamer than me. I certainly wouldn't, but he seems to thrive on it, doesn't he?
He's not giving billionaires a bad name, you don't think?
I don't know about billionaires myself.
Well, 3/4 of a billionaires, rich listers like you. Do you think, because we get the class war, I just wonder when you see business people go in like this, does it help or hinder what you do you think?
Well, I don't know. I get carried, you know. I mean, when I was a kid, you know, if you had $25,000, you retired, and then 100,000 was a magical figure. Then it was $1 million. Then it was $1 billion. I don't know why we put so much emphasis on all these names, but the main thing is, as long as
magazines.
Oh, well, I suppose it does. I suppose it does. So you don't get too carried away with it, I think.
Well, I can pretty well say, Scoop, you won't be heading down the Clive Palmer route to run for Parliament then.
100%.
Okay, I'm interested in your interest in medical technology. Where did this grow out of? Because it seems so different to what business you've been in for most of your business career.
Well, I've been in medicine for a very long time. Going back into the early 80s, I was a major shareholder in the largest pathology company in Australia called Gribbles, and I was always very interested that I think part of one of the obligations you got if you do make money, and that you should spend a certain amount of your money into things that is going to benefit people in general. And I think health is certainly one of those things, and I think you've got to possibly sometimes take more of a risk in that field, in that area, that even if it did fail, that there's always knowledge and good things come out of it. And I think I think a lot more people should take that sort of view, that I run under very, very strict rules on what I invest in and and how I invest. I always look at risk. I try to invest in things that generate 24 hours a day, because I like to be paid as much when I'm asleep as when I'm awake. 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Medicine is that. I like to try to, if I'm going to invest, look at it as a 10-bagger. Where I get 10 times my money if I'm successful. So you get big rewards. They're not always that way, but I think you've got an obligation that we should. Asthma is a chronic disease, and when it was brought to me, I thought, well, it's a good thing to put money into anyway. That if you can somehow get knowledge and help in those sort of fields, it gives you a good feeling.
So are you driven, I mean, I'm assuming as a successful businessman, as you say, it's high risk, high reward. I often compare it to mining, and I notice you've in a lot of mining companies too. But overall in all this time, do you usually, are you ahead on it, or does it, I mean, you obviously do it to make money, but obviously you're prepared to lose as well. Are you ahead?
Miles. Yeah, no, I think, to be perfectly honest, I can't even think of a failure, to be honest. But there's no doubt there's one coming and so forth. But that's not what you do it for. The thing is, if you believe in something and do your homework, and you invest in people, you know, the iSonea has got some wonderful, wonderful scientists, very high tech and so forth. You know, it's a field that I think is coming. All those things are going to come, monitoring and things in a lot of fields. You know, I think it's going to come in diabetes. We're working on something on diabetes now. And there's going to be a lot of fields that all this sort of monitoring is going to come.
Well, it was interesting. You said you've been in medicine, in the medical side for a long time, but you're particularly interested in the application of these mobile technologies. And the real technology is a more recent phenomenon, isn't it? And that's going to revolutionise this whole area. Oh,
100%. As I say, I think it's just started. And I think what's going to come out of it over the next generation is just you couldn't think. I think it's just going to explode and be more and more and more. So to be early days in it and having a go at it, I think is very important.
You know, it's interesting. I spent some time in Silicon Valley where there's a lot of money going. A lot of Australians go over there. We have a brain drain. It's interesting what you said about people, there's a bit of an obligation if you've made money to invest in this area. Yet you talk to the very smart people out there desperate for money. We have a bit of a drought on the investment money in this area, don't we?
Oh, sure, because people, for some reason, seem to think it's that you've failed if you put money into something and it doesn't go. I never look at it that way. As long as you haven't been ripped off and conned, and you think that money's been well spent and there's quite a lot learnt out of it. I think it's very important, but I think you can eliminate your risk by the sort of things as I said before. That if it's successful, you want to be paid well. I think the thing with iSonea, it's not only a lot of people go into a product that you only make money out of once. You make it and you sell it, and then that's the end. With this here, because of monitoring and that, it'll keep on making the company money for many, many years, that individual product that you've sold.
Well, I love
so it's a matter of...
Sorry, go on.
So it's a matter of sitting down, analysing the total risk you take. But I don't think you should be desperately frightened of if you're putting it into things that are going to help combat a disease or something as a failure if it did fail.
OK, well, let's look at iSonea. The wheeze monitor. Tell us about the wheeze monitor. That's obviously the attraction.
Well, what it is I suppose it's like a very small phone that you put it to your neck, and that will take a reading of what your lungs are and what wheezing and so forth. So it'll go to an Apple app, and then you can monitor that. Say your wheeze today is a 10, and if you're wheezing at 10. Do you need medication? Your doctor will tell you if you do or you don't. Once you get to 10, you maybe take your puffer. If you're a 15 or something, there's highly, and out of you get a pattern of what this thing is going to, that your body runs at. You might run at a 10, I run at a 14 or something like that. But as soon as you get a variation, you should be taking medication for it. Another thing is that because of the lungs that supplies oxygen to the brain, you want to be breathing as freely as you can, and that feeds all your organs and so forth. It's a very important part of your body is the lungs.
It'd be great for kids with their phones, I would have thought.
Oh, and athletes and all that sort of thing. And it's not only that. The company's got 19 patents that are emphysema and all these sort of things that will eventually be able to put under monitoring. You know, people in the country a long way away from doctors and all that sort of thing.
Now, it was interesting you say that. Does that mean you'd be a supporter of the NBN? Because that was one of the big attractions. They were pushing the previous government on the advantages of the NBN and having the fast downtimes so that we can link in with the new technology and healthcare.
Well, I think all these sort of things are going to come, you know, and it doesn't matter which government in. I don't think there's that much difference between the both governments anyway, in those sort of views anyway. So, but I just think that this is the way to go, and I think the opportunities in this company have just started, you know.
It's Australian technology and something you obviously support. Given there is a debate at the moment about this whole issue of should we have a science minister, I was talking to a number of people today in innovation areas who are concerned that we should be putting more money, that Australia, again, I mentioned that brain drain, that we have this great talent and our future is in smart technology. We've seen it improved in the US. Do you think we should be doing more to support companies like this to train people? I mean, we saw figures last weekend that fewer people are doing maths and science than ever in history. That's a shame, isn't it?
Well, I think all those sort of things. I mean, I'd rather be putting money into that than, say, pink bats, you know. So, you know, I think, as I came back to even investing, as long as you're spending your money wisely and looking for the future, I don't think anyone goes crook, really. But it comes down to spending it wisely.
And I guess in companies like this you are encouraging Australian innovation, and I guess if people are doing it in school, the best way is maybe through business, that people can see the attractions of what happens if these things succeed.
Exactly, you know, and there's no doubt. But we've got wonderful brains in Australia, you know, and we do lose a lot of it, and you can understand why. It's a lot easier, I suppose, to get money overseas and so forth, but you know, I think the more of these type things that get off the ground and are successful, it can only help.
Do you encourage any of your colleagues in business or in your other areas of business to get into this?
Well, you know, there's a whole group of us that we stick together, and we do put a lot of money. And you mentioned Main Pharma before. I think that's going to be a very, very large company in very, very you know, short time. You know, these are companies that less than 2 years ago were valued at 40 million. Now they're valued at over 250 million. Same as Western Desert, that was in the 40s. Now it's worth about 300 million. You know, you can make a lot of money out of these things if you put the right people together.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Well, it's a win-win for everyone. You know, Western Desert at the moment has got 300 odd people working out at the mines. You know, we've employed a lot more people with Main Pharma and spending an awful lot of money on R&D. You know, so I just think success is a wonderful thing, and you know, we've got people. You know, I've got a lot of people now say, look, you know, Bruce, when you're going to invest in the next one, let me know. And I think that's very good.
That's good. I was going to say it's a good thing to do at a time when we are debating this whole area, and you lead by example. So thank you for a positive story tonight, and good luck with it all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's Bruce Mathieson, and it's iSonea. That's it for tonight, but we'll be back again tomorrow night with our end of week panel. Plenty to talk on this week. I'll see you then.